Hello everybody, welcome back. If you're new to the group, each week Molly and I present a word that's intended to be a guide for meditation, journaling, or simply contemplation. And this week's word is relative. And I liked her post this week, the comment especially on her post this week about the relativity of how you see things. So no matter who you are, you have a perspective that's based on, we believe, several things. Part of what frames your perspective is your personality type. In the IMR system, that's one of 9 personalities that we have chosen a color to represent each one of those 9 personalities. So it's based on that, and then also how you were raised. So depending on who your caregivers were, who your parents were, who the primary caregivers in your life were, their positive and negative reinforcement, the rewards and punishments that you get in your life as you're growing up will focus and frame those behaviors and that get reinforced or punished, and that will also bring a little different perspective for each person depending on their personality type and then who raised them or their environment. Other factors, your birth order, socioeconomic status, culture, ethnicity, these kind of things can also have an impact. But you definitely have a specific perspective that you base all of your opinions and behaviors and decisions on. And that's relative. That's relative to who you are. It's relative to what you've seen and what you've been through. It's relative to a lot of factors in your life. So the discussion this week is really about how do you perceive yourself? How do you perceive your environment? And how does that change the relativity of your perspective? So one of the things that Molly and I work on a regular basis and have been working on as a journey in our life for many years is taking into consideration our perspective, the perspective of the people in our life, and the people who we're engaging with, and then trying to figure out like what part do I play in this engagement? What part does that person play into this engagement? And then where is the kind of reality or the truth of this situation? Because usually the truth or the reality of the situation lies somewhere in between my perspective, your perspective, and other people's perspective, and creates this picture of what's really going on. So the more we can understand that when she's talking about who's driving at the helm of who you are, so who's really making those decisions, who inside of you, what inside of you is really making those decisions on a daily basis. I like that conversation because it gives a lot of accountability for you to see yourself as a driver. It gives a lot of an ability to have an open discussion about what is that driver part of you? What is the potential for an inner observer? So how often and how well are you able to look at yourself from an inner observer perspective, monitor yourself based on like watching what your behaviors are, and then make changes in your life to those habits and routines and those ruts that can exist in your brain when you're simply behaving based on triggers and then you're responding. So how often are you triggered? There's a specific way you act when something happens. So somebody says something that insults you, and there's a specific way that you act when that happens to you. And the more often you have that trigger and then you react to those things, the deeper those ruts get in your brain. So the more it's the synapse paths, those paths become very deep and very habitual. So one of the things that we work on in the IMR system is trying to strengthen that inner observer, trying to look at behavior from an outside perspective or from like a third party internal perspective and say, okay, when this happened to me, did that person mean to insult me? Do I have an issue there that I need to look at? Is there an insecurity there that I need to look at? Really, what's my behavior? Is that behavior serving me? is my response making that situation better? Is it making it worse? Is it damaging a relationship? Is it improving a relationship? And really look at those different aspects of your life and look at those different things that happen to you and how you respond to things. So when we talk about this week, and I like it a lot, this idea of relativity, it is important to remember that it's all relative. It's relative to your experience, it's relative to your perspective, and how you go out into the world and how you behave on a regular basis is going to be a pretty clear indicator of how you see the world. If you've got a chip on your shoulder, or you have things that have happened to you that you haven't worked through or learned to resolve or overcome, that's going to have an impact on your life. That's going to have an impact on your ability to succeed. If you're looking at your behavior, if you're looking at yourself, if you're talking to people about that, if you're internally, like maybe journaling and discussing those things like with yourself, if you talk to any number of people, trusted friends, mentors, life coaches, counselors, therapists, anyone that can really give you a sense of what's going on here, what would you like to change, what's your intention, and where are you going, and how can we get there. But one of those ways that we believe can be very powerful is this type of activity where you're looking at different aspects of your life, you're journaling about those things, you're holding yourself accountable, and you're really trying to see how much of my life am I spending looking through this narrow window based only on my perspective and only on my experiences, and how much is that defining how I behave. So that practice, it takes a whole lifetime. We can always improve on how we're behaving. We can always improve our understanding of ourselves and others. And really understanding your personality and understanding the personality of those around you is a valuable tool, a very valuable tool in life. So I really enjoyed this discussion and this thought and contemplation time with the word relative, and I really liked Molly's post and her comment on her post this week, and I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you liked my thoughts today, and I look forward to hearing from you if you have any comments or thoughts, and thank you for showing up.